everybody, it's Katie from Ray & Co Insiders, and thanks for tuning in. This video today is going to be about how to do an on-the-job heart design, kind of a tattoo style heart design. And this is a basic tutorial for anybody who is really just starting and has sort of a basic set of supplies, or maybe doesn't want to invest in a bunch of supplies just to start. So maybe you're just a hobbyist or volunteering, or maybe you have contract gigs that are free to the public. This would be a good design for all of those. So let me show you a little bit about what the supplies are that I'm going to be using. I have a tag regular black and a tag regular white that I'm using for line work. These are wax-based paints that work really well for line work. I also have a mister bottle, a cheap mister bottle that you can pick up at your local drugstore. I recommend getting a couple of these just in case they break, and keeping a couple of them in your kit. That's to activate the paint. I use these high density face painting sponges. There's a teardrop sponge and a half round sponge. If I had to pick between the two, I would definitely go for the teardrop sponge because they're smaller for the face, as you can see. They're quite a bit different in size. So these ones are a little bit smaller for the face, and they're also already in like a convenient shape for butterflies and things like that. So I can do almost everything that I can do with this. This will cover a larger area faster. But again, if I had to pick between the two, I would go for these teardrop sponges. I won't be using it today, but I do have or recommend white holographic glitter. So you don't have to go overboard on glitters, but if you have at least a white holographic cosmetic glitter, that's super helpful. And in terms of the brushes that I'm using today, they are going to be from the Paint Pal brush collection, classic brush collection, which ranges anywhere from $25 to $30 or so, depending on where you get it. And it comes with 6 brushes. So for these basic tutorials, I challenge myself just to use these. I do have a much wider variety of brushes, but for these tutorials, I want to do it with fairly basic supplies. So we have the 3/4 inch flat brush. We have a big drop brush in this collection. It's a filbert brush. There is what they call the pretty petal brush, and it makes exactly that, pretty flower petals. And then there are the round brushes. These would be what you would be more of like your standard paintbrush. So they just come in different sizes, a 4, a 3, and a 1. And so today we'll be using primarily a round brush and and the sponges. So in terms of paint, I have a larger palette over here, which is what I use in my kit. However, again, we're gonna keep it simple with a basic sort of 12 color palette. You can pick up this guide, How to Build Your First Face Painting Starter Kit, at my website, rayfaceart.com/learn. If you wanna check that out, it just kind of documents my journey of how I went from, you know, this sort of a setup to a little bit larger, to getting, you know, a nice tray of solids and stuff like that. So pretty good resource. So anyway, let's get started. We'll go ahead and work on this face today over here. And I'm going to go ahead and start by loading up a teardrop sponge. I actually have one kind of preloaded. I'm going to reactivate my paint. If you're not familiar with that, I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to take my mister bottle, and I'm going to give my pink a spritz and give my purple a spritz. I went ahead and went with a light purple, but if you don't have light purple, a dark purple will work. You could also blend pink with a light blue, would look really good. It would give you kind of a teal or a purple effect in the middle of that blend. And when you're doing sponge work, you want the sponge to be relatively dry, a dry consistency. If it's too wet, it just takes longer to dry on the face. So you can blot it on your arm to see if you have the right consistency. And then we'll go over here to our face. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the heel of my sponge, the purple part, and kind of work around the upper part of the face here. And then as I go down, I'm going to go ahead and introduce some of that pink. And I can kind of switch back between the purple and the pink to get a nice blend in between the two. You can always use the back side of your sponge as well, just to get a little extra blend into the skin. Now this is a plastic practice board, so sometimes it dries a little slower. Let me see if I can move this over for you guys. It'll dry a little slower sometimes, but it's already dry here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my, what am I grabbing? I'm grabbing the number 4 round brush and my Tag regular black. Now other blacks that I've used for line work are Diamond FX black and Wolf black. I really don't have a preference. It's usually between the 3 of those. They all work really great, so it's usually between the 3 of those, whatever's in stock. And I like the larger containers. These are 90-gram containers, and I like those better. So it's really whatever's in stock out of those 3 brands. Okay, so when you do your line work, you want to keep your paintbrush perpendicular to your work surface, and that will give you the most control over the brush when you're drawing with the paintbrush. So we're just gonna draw a little heart there. I'm gonna go ahead and get a little bit more black. And to get your brush to a finer point, you can just twist it inside so that you get more of that fine, the fine point on the end. All right, so we're gonna do another little heart here. And this brush, I will say, is well loved, so it doesn't give me quite as crisp lines as I would like anymore. I do have other brushes that I use for my gigs, but usually when I'm practicing at home, I use these ones. This brush collection is really good. Like I said, it's affordable, and having good quality brushes really does matter. So I would highly recommend it. If you're struggling to get some of these designs right, or any others that you're YouTubing or researching, it's possible that you just need some new brushes. So to make these small little hearts, all I'm doing is simply pressing down my brush, the tip of it, and then pivoting it, and then pressing down again. And that'll give you some real quick hearts that you can put here and there. So I just press and press. And what that looks like on the skin, if I bring it up a little bit closer, is just pressing down and pressing down. And it'll give you a nice little heart. Super quick. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back into my Tag black. I'm going to roll the paint off of my brush to get a little puddle, and we're going to do some dots. And so we're just going to go ahead and sneak some dots in here. Go ahead and sneak some dots in here. They just kind of liven up the design a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do this little swirl curly Q thing. And so I'll go ahead and start it out over here on this side. And you can use your pinky as an anchor. That's something that after you do it for a while, you won't really think about. But so we'll do something like that. And then go back around. And you can stop halfway through a stroke. You know, if you have a hard time making a full stroke in one one fell swoop, you can stop and just restart it and reposition your hand to get a better angle or better control over your brush. So now I'm just gonna work over here, and I'm kind of gonna pick that back up on this side. I'm gonna go around over here and do a swirl over here as well. And then to do teardrops, what you do, these are the teardrops right here. You just press your brush down like you were doing with the hearts, and then you drag it and you lift your brush up as you drag to get that point. So sometimes when you do them slow, they turn out a little bit funky, but that's basically how you do it. So you lay the brush down, and then as you drag it, you lift it up, and then that will give you sort of that point at the end. All right, so there was another teardrop over here, and we could probably sneak another one in over here. Obviously, we wouldn't be painting on their hair, but we'll pretend that this is more on the side of their face. Okay, so that is pretty much it. You know, line work is, I think, really key to practice, really daily if you can. Just keeping your paints, you know, handy, you know, if you have this in a separate pot like this, just keeping it handy on your desk with a number 4 round brush, or, you know, a couple round brushes. And then you can do the line work practice and just get comfortable with it, like using a pencil. So this design has a couple little fun little elements in it. I'm going to go ahead and just load my brush up with some darker purple, which should be in that tag regular 12 color palette like I mentioned. And I'm going to just come back here, and what we can do is just kind of do these little squiggles. Now for this, I'm holding my brush a little bit more at an angle, and then I'm just kind of going to do some squiggles back and forth, just like this. And if you wanted to, you could do red as well. So I'll go ahead and, if you have time, you can do the red. This is more or less kind of a nice to have, depending on how fast you can get your line work done and how long your line is. But once you lay the sponge work down and do the line work, it really shouldn't take you all that long. If you want to fill the inside of the heart with another small heart, you can just do that press method. What you want to be careful of is just getting your paint into the black paint, because you don't want to reactivate it, otherwise you'll end up with some dark pink. But there you go. This is a fun, cute little heart design that is great for on the job, like I said, for free to the public events, volunteer type events. And you certainly don't have to add all of the embellishments right away either. I mean, it's just something that's really great to practice on your forearm. And that's where I do most of my daily doodling, is just on my forearm to do some practice. But you know, if you are only comfortable with doing the hearts, the kids will love it. So don't stress out over having to try to do a fancy scroll work and teardrops. It's something to work up to. If you can get the heart shapes down, they'll be happy with it as well. You could also add a couple little white dots. I'll show you what that looks like real quick. That'll help make things pop a little bit. You can add some highlights to the hearts. White highlights and dots and stuff always just add a little bit of, just makes the design a little bit brighter. So you can come in here and do a quick little gleam, a little shimmer on each one of those hearts. And then, like I said, you can come in here and do some dots as well that are white. And you can see how that just kind of livens up the design a little bit. So real easy way that doesn't require too much technique, to finish off the design. That's, again, it's kind of nice to have little elements if you have time, depending on how quickly you can get through the design. All right, like I said, if you are looking for supplies, recommendations, and where to buy things, you can head over to rayfaceart.com/learn to get this guide, how to build your first face painting starter kit. You can also find real versions, real life examples of these on my Instagram account at instagram.com/rayfaceart. So you check the link wherever you're watching this or check the description wherever you're watching this, and check for links there as well. All right, guys, take care.